Aari McDonald shows out for the Indiana Fever.
The Indiana Fever look like a totally different team since Aari McDonald took over.
Aari McDonald has done just a tremendous job filling in for the team and really has changed things.
She actually might be more desirable than she was before. We want Aari McDonald on the Indiana Fever.
Aari McDonald has been a game changer. She's been an absolute game changer for the Indiana Fever.
Aari McDonald just lit up the court.
Aari McDonald stepped on the court with the rest of the Indiana Fever. It was totally the difference maker. She has been the offensive playmaker that they were needing. She has the experience and the pacing, and she just fits in the system and she fits in the culture.
She's taking charges. She's playing big minutes.
And now everyone's asking, is Caitlin Clark in serious trouble?
She is not going to fix the problems for the Indiana Fever without Caitlin Clark. No guard's going to come in and do that. She's not going to come in and fix this team.
The Fever are winning, the lineup's changing, and the media's stirring up a storm.
Aari McDonald and the Indiana Fever, can they keep her?
Aari McDonald and Caitlin Clark has fans up in arms.
But let's be clear, Caitlin Clark is still the face, the leader, the GOAT in the making.
WNBA without Caitlin Clark remains an attraction that not many people want to watch. Without Caitlin Clark,
is going to massively affect the WNBA.
This drama isn't about replacing her. It's about a broken system trying to shake what she built. Comment 100% if you're standing with Caitlin Clark no matter what. Let's break down the truth behind the hype.
Caitlin Clark is the absolute difference maker for the Indiana Fever.
Caitlin Clark is the needle mover.
She is the needle mover.
She is the franchise player.
And she was the MVP. She is the main draw.
She wasn't the one who was full sprinting down the court.
Caitlin Clark is a superstar globally.
Aari McDonald didn't just show up. She exploded onto the court like a spark igniting dry kindling. In just 2 games, she changed the entire tone of the Indiana Fever's offense.
She can score in the paint. She can score from outside of the arc. She's just a really great passer. This is the type of thing I think that they were envisioning when thinking of playing Caitlin Clark off ball, because she mentioned wanting to play off ball.
In the 2 games that she appeared in, McDonald has carved out her own space in fans' heart.
Her speed, confidence, and two-way presence turned a team struggling to find rhythm into one suddenly buzzing with energy. 12 points, multiple steals, clutch assists.
Aari McDonald, she came in, she scored 12 points. She actually stuffed the stat sheet. She got 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, which actually was 4.
McDonald didn't just participate, she commanded the floor.
52 points is the lowest point total that Chicago has had since 2011. So it's actually tied for the 5th lowest, apparently, in point total in team history in a regular season game. And the Indiana Fever has beaten the Chicago Sky by a combined 62 points in 2 games.
And now, the headlines are rolling. Social media is spinning. Suddenly, people are asking if Caitlin Clark should play off the ball, or worse, whether Aari's performance could threaten her spot. But let's set the record straight. The only reason Aari McDonald's play is working right now is because Caitlin Clark laid the foundation.
WNBA without Clark, league feels the hurt. Without Caitlin Clark, fan fervor's down, ticket sales are down, merchandise is down.
Caitlin took the pressure, absorbed the criticism, faced the toughest defenders, and still managed to lead her team in scoring and assists. Before McDonald ever suited up, Caitlin had already elevated the franchise from league afterthought to national sensation. She didn't just bring game, she brought millions of eyes, new fans, and real momentum.
A lot of fans is kind of not happy with this.
Maybe she will guard Caitlin before the free throw line this time. Welcome, Aari. She doesn't have to guard Caitlin between the free throws anymore.
Yes, Aari's presence is a boost, but it's not a takeover. What we're seeing is a possible solution to a deeper problem. The Fever lacks supporting playmakers. When Clark had to do everything herself, opponents could collapse on her. Now with McDonald pushing pace and distributing the ball, it gives Clark room to breathe. And when she returns healthy, she'll make the offense even more deadly.
Aari McDonald.
She's not going to fix the problems for this team. And also, I think the biggest problem with this team is not their offense. I think it's the lack of defense. So you have a lack of defense on this Indiana Fever team. I don't think the offense is the issue. I think the defense is the issue. If you look at when the Indiana Fever had Caitlin Clark out there, they were 2-2. The reason they were 2-2 is because this team has bad defense, even when you have the best offensive player in the league on your team, like a Caitlin Clark.
And let's not forget, Clark's already proven she can play on or off the ball. She did it at Iowa to perfection. This isn't new. It's just now, with a player like Aari beside her, we can actually see that vision in action. So while Aari McDonald might be shaking up the roster, make no mistake, she's not shaking Caitlin's throne. She's a strong new piece, but Caitlin Clark is still the queen of the board.
So for Indiana Fever fans, the return of a healthy roster is supposed to be good news. But it comes with a tough side effect, the likely release of guard Aari McDonald, who has quickly become a fan favorite during the team's injury-stricken start to the season.
Caitlin Clark effect seems to be crazier than year one.
She's my role model. I really look up to her.
Why do you like Caitlin?
Yeah, she's so good at basketball.
Because she's that awesome person and she has like a lot of aura, so like.
Caitlin Clark's left quad strain was a moment of concern, but let's be real. This wasn't the kind of injury that dims a star. It was the kind that forces a reset.
And when Caitlin Clark does get back from being injured with her left quad strain, Aari McDonald would be an asset to the team, because there has been this idea of having Clark play off ball a little bit, just a few minutes a game like she did over at Iowa. So this is like nothing new. It's just new to the Indiana Fever.
And while Clark has been sidelined briefly, the chatter around her hasn't stopped. In fact, the silence from her on the court has only made the noise from others louder. With Clark out, Aari McDonald's emergency hardship contract allowed her to step in.
Aari McDonald is currently signed to an end-of-season hardship contract, emergency hardship contract, and that is because the team was down under 10 players, so they qualified for an emergency hardship contract.
And she delivered. Suddenly, fans and media alike started entertaining bold questions. Should Caitlin Clark play off-ball permanently? Does Aari run the offense better? Could this actually threaten Clark's role? Let's pause. That's not strategy, it's spin. Caitlin's injury was minor, and all indications suggest she's being cautiously held out by coaching staff who want her at 100% when she returns, likely in the June 17th game against the Connecticut Sun.
She will probably be returning for the game against the Connecticut Sun, that's on the 17th.
Coach Stephanie White made it clear. They're not risking re-aggravation. They're protecting the future of the franchise, because that's what Clark is, the present and the future. But here's where things get messy, the WNBA's outdated hardship contract rules. Once Clark or Sophie Cunningham returns and the roster hits 10 players, Aari McDonald must be waived.
Once either Sophie Cunningham or Caitlin Clark step back onto that court, they will have 10 players and they will have to waive Aari McDonald.
No exceptions. Not because Caitlin's taking anyone's spot. Not because she's a threat, but because the league rules don't allow room for a player like Aari unless another is cut. And so the media flips the narrative. Caitlin's return could cost Aari her job. But that's a false frame. The real story isn't Clark versus McDonald. It's Clark versus the system. Clark has never shied away from elevating teammates. She wants talent around her. She needs teammates who can keep up with her pace, read her passes, and take pressure off her shoulders. That's what Aari's brief run has offered. A glimpse into what the Fever could be if they built the roster around complementing Clark.
Aari was the player who the Fever signed for a hardship contract. Now, teams are allowed to do this when they have multiple injuries on the team, and with Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham out, they were able to sign Aari McDonald.
Not competing with her. The so-called serious trouble isn't about Clark losing her spot. It's about the system failing to support the league's biggest star. She's forced to sit while decisions are made about contracts and cap space. She's watching as a media speculation tries to divide her from teammates. But through it all, Caitlin remains focused, rehabbing quietly, supporting her team, and preparing to come back even stronger.
Caitlin Clark is the GOAT.
She signed my jersey. So happy, I'm crying. I'm so happy. This is the best day ever.
Caitlin Clark effect seems to be crazier than year one.
I love watching her score and just everything about her.
They went the extra mile just to watch her play here.
This is great news for women's basketball. Period.
WNBA rumors suggest Caitlin Clark will be among the first stars making $1 million annually. The most notable of which is, y'all already know who, the needle mover, Caitlin Clark.
So in 2024, she averaged 16.5 points per game, 4 assists, 5.5 rebounds. She shot 37% from the field and 31.8% from three. Now, if you look at her preseason in 2025, she only played 2 games in this preseason, and one was against that Brazilian national team. She played 21 minutes. She averaged 14.5 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. She shot 52.5% from the field and 50% from three-point range.
So let's be very clear. Caitlin Clark isn't in danger. She's in demand. And if anyone thinks a few strong games from a temporary contract player are going to shake her throne, they haven't been paying attention to who Caitlin Clark really is.
Oh, man. I was very anxious. Like, it felt weird, sitting at home, just watching the games this time of the year. But when I got the call, I was very excited, very blessed, and a humble experience to join a team like the Fever. And I was excited and I'm ready to compete and just win. I was a slight bit anxious, but again, it was my first day. I wasn't trying to overthink because that's when turnovers happen or you just mess up. But just constantly playing, just not thinking too much and just calling what I'm comfortable with. But the girls did a great job with just, cheering me on and being very, accepting and welcoming.
Let's cut through the noise. The issue here isn't Caitlin Clark. The real storm brewing in Indiana isn't about talent on the court. It's about how the WNBA's restrictive system is forcing impossible choices, threatening team chemistry, and clouding the truth. Caitlin Clark is the franchise, and the system isn't built to support her level of impact. Here's the situation. Aari McDonald signed with the Fever under a hardship contract. That's a temporary deal only permitted when a team has fewer than 10 active players.
On the hardship deal, McDonald must be cut when the Fever get back to 10 available players.
But as soon as Caitlin Clark or Sophie Cunningham returns, the roster hits 10, and by rule, McDonald must be waived. There's no negotiation, no loophole. And despite McDonald's stellar play, the front office has its hands tied. Now here's where it gets ugly. To keep Aari, the Fever would need to cut someone else. Bree Turner is a name that keeps surfacing. She's contributed little this season, often being a non-factor or even a net negative when on the floor. But Turner signed a full contract. Waiving her not only costs money, it sends a message to every free agent watching that the Fever are willing to cut ties midseason. That can hurt long-term reputation. So the front office is frozen. Keep Aari and risk setting a precedent that scares off future signings, or waive her and risk derailing the chemistry she helped build, and lose a player that perfectly complements Caitlin Clark's style. But notice who's caught in the middle of all this? Caitlin Clark. She's not injured because of poor conditioning. She was getting hacked, elbowed, and targeted every single game.
It is a mad situation just all around when it comes to Caitlin Clark, because it's very clear that she is way stronger.
It is undeniable that Caitlin Clark is the engine.
Caitlin Clark effect. There has been so much of an influx in attendance, in jersey sales, and viewership, all the things.
That's about star power, narrative, and likability.
Caitlin Clark comes into the WNBA, goes through college. She has panache. She has style.
She's not being outplayed. She's just being forced to sit due to a minor quad strain, while a media frenzy tries to invent a rivalry between her and McDonald.
McDonald has to be released and they get back to 10 healthy players, but could be re-signed a regular contract, but cutting someone away in 10 days.
And worst of all, she's being made to look like the reason someone else might lose their job, when she's actually the one holding this entire franchise together. Let's get this straight. The Indiana Fever were irrelevant before Caitlin Clark. Their games weren't selling out. Their highlights weren't trending. Now, thanks to her, the Fever have national broadcast games, top-tier jersey sales, and millions of new fans. Players want to come to Indiana because of the platform she created.
what the players actually think. I mean, I would think that they would want to go to Indiana because right now Indiana is, the biggest team in the WNBA. They are the only team that has like NBA caliber eyes.
So why is the team even considering sacrificing a player like Aari McDonald, who finally fits Clark's high-speed, high IQ style of play? Why isn't the organization doing everything it can to build around Clark? Not treat her return like a roster problem to solve? Because the WNBA system isn't ready for someone like Caitlin. The salary cap is brutally tight. The hardship contract rules are inflexible, and the CBA doesn't allow creative workarounds to keep a temporary star like McDonald without cutting someone else or waiting 10 days.
If they wanted to bring her back, they would have to, there is a lot of confusion about this because the way it's stated in the CBA is very confusing to a lot of people, but if they wanted to bring her back, they would have to wait 10 days to bring her back.
By which time she could easily be picked up by another team. The Chicago Sky are already eyeing her, and why wouldn't they be? She's proven she can lead a second unit or even a starting five. Exactly what a team like Chicago needs. If Indiana lets her go, they might end up facing her in a playoff game.
Some confusion over the way this goes. I covered a hardship before in Crystal Dangerfield a few years ago, and I think 2022, the Fever had some players overseas. This was pre-prioritization rules. Danielle Robinson was not yet with the team, and I can't remember who the other player was, but they only could have Crystal Dangerfield until those players returned. Then Dangerfield left, and they had to wait to get her back until that was cleared. I've seen a lot of fans say that the Fever could just cut someone else and then just keep Aari. That's not true. Once her Cunningham return, whether that's Tuesday or their next game after that, which I believe is their Liberty game over the weekend, so that's another 4 days. Keep that in mind when you think about returns. Then they have to let McDonald go. I think it's 10 days post-hardship, and then after that, once she's available, then they could, in theory, waive somebody to bring her in.
And who does that leave to clean up the mess? Caitlin Clark. She'll return to the floor, expected to patch every hole, reignite the offense, and keep the Fever competitive while media narratives swirl around her. But here's the thing, she's done it before, and she'll do it again, because that's what great players do.
They were playing at the United Center in Chicago, and there was a point where Caitlin Clark was signing autographs, and there was a Chicago Sky fan trying to like sneakily get in and have Caitlin Clark sign their Chicago Sky jersey, because Caitlin Clark was just kind of like going and signing. And sometimes, I can only imagine with the hundreds of autographs I'm sure she signs a night.
They rise even when the structure around them fails. Caitlin isn't the problem. She's the proof that this league has outgrown its own limits. The WNBA has never had a player with this level of influence, brand power, and basketball IQ come in as a rookie. And instead of empowering her, the system keeps dragging her into controversies she didn't create. So if you're watching this thinking Caitlin Clark is in serious trouble, don't. She's not the one crumbling. It's the structure around her that's shaking. And maybe that's exactly what needs to happen for things to change.
Caitlin Clark effect seems to be crazier than year one.
I love watching her score and just everything about her.
They went the extra mile just to watch her play here.
This is great news for women's basketball. Period.
Just have nothing but great things to say about who she is as a person. Just so welcoming and so warm as an individual that she can have a conversation with anybody. She's cut from the same cloth as me in that regard. You know what? Us Midwesterners, we tend to just, accept everybody with open arms. She was so kind to my family and everyone in the suite when she came to KC. So huge fans of Caitlin Clark.
Pressure, drama, unfair rules, media noise. Caitlin Clark has seen it all, and she's just getting started. Aari McDonald may be the newest spark in Indiana, and yes, she's been impressive. But let's not forget who built this fire in the first place. Caitlin Clark is the reason the lights are on, the seats are filled, and the cameras are rolling.
Caitlin Clark is the needle mover.
She is the needle mover.
She is the franchise player.
And she was the MVP. She is the main draw.
She wasn't the one who was full sprinting down the court.
She's my role model. I really look up to her. Why do you like Caitlin?
Yeah, she's so good at basketball.
Because she's that awesome person, and she has like a lot of aura, so like.
It is undeniable that Caitlin Clark is the engine.
Caitlin Clark effect. There has been so much of an influx in attendance, in jersey sales, and viewership, all the things.
That's about star power, narrative, and likability.
Caitlin Clark comes into the WNBA,
goes through college. She has panache. She has style.
Caitlin Clark's injury is going to massively affect the WNBA. It's going to massively affect the league.
The real story isn't whether Clark is in trouble. It's how she continues to rise above the chaos every single time. Whether it's playing through injury, adjusting roles, or blocking out the noise, Caitlin delivers. Not just as a player, but as a leader who makes everyone around her better. The system may be flawed, and the roster may shift, but Caitlin Clark remains the unshakable foundation of the Indiana Fever.
Caitlin Clark is more mature. Caitlin Clark has decorum.
Caitlin Clark obviously is jet fuel to its popularity.
Caitlin Clark is far better of a basketball player and has made such a tremendous impact in a greater number, more so than Angel Reese. Everybody knows that. Her college career was better. The stadium sales, the WNBA popularity has gone up because Caitlin Clark.
And of the WNBA's future. Drop a 100% in the comments. Let the league know we see the truth. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because when Caitlin Clark takes the floor again, the whole world will be watching.